His name was Kofi, 24 years old, Lagos-born, London living, graphic designer by day, ghost by night. From the outside, Kofi had everything a young man was supposed to want. A flat in East London, a decent salary, a portfolio that turned heads. But there was something nobody saw. Every night after work, Kofi sat in the blue light of his laptop, not designing, not building, not creating, consuming. An hour would pass, then two. Then somehow it was 2 in the morning and Kofi was sitting in the same chair he had been in since 7. Hollow, tired in a way that sleep never fixed. And every morning he woke up with the same question sitting on his chest like a stone. Why can I not make myself do the things I know I need to do? He thought he was lazy. He was not lazy. He was poisoned, and he did not even know it yet. Kofi had a dream, not a vague dream, a specific one. His own creative studio. He had the skills. He had the contacts. He had sketched the logo 100 times in his notebook. But every time he sat down to actually build it, something stopped him. Not fear exactly, something heavier than fear. A specific kind of exhaustion that lived not in his muscles, but somewhere deeper, in his will, in the part of a man that is supposed to push forward when everything else says stop. That part in Kofi had gone quiet. He told himself it was the London weather. He told himself it was the job draining him. He told himself he would start next month. Next month became 6 months. 6 months became 2 years. And the notebook with the logo sketches sat in the same drawer, unopened. What Kofi did not understand was this. Every night he sat in that blue light, he was making a trade. His brain was releasing a flood of dopamine, the same chemical signal that was designed for a reward of a man for a real conquest, for building something, for winning something, for creating something real. But Kofi's brain could not tell the difference between a real conquest and a fake one. It only knew the chemical. And every time that flood came from a screen instead of from real life, it raised what scientists call the dopamine baseline, the level of stimulation a man needs just to feel normal, just to feel motivated, just to feel alive. If you have ever sat down to work on something important and felt completely unable to start, even though you genuinely wanted to, hit that like button, because that inability was not a character flaw, it was a chemistry problem, and it had a name. One Thursday evening, Kofi came home from work. He opened his laptop as always. He navigated to the same place as always. And then he stopped, not because of willpower, because of a video that had been sitting in his recommended feed for 3 weeks. He had ignored it every time. Tonight, for a reason he could not explain, he clicked it. The video was about dopamine, about what happens to the brain of a man who spends his most powerful biological currency on artificial stimulation night after night. Kofi watched it once, then he watched it again, and something broke open in him, not dramatically, the way a crack appears in a wall before the whole thing comes down. He opened a new tab and searched for something he had heard mentioned once and dismissed immediately: semen retention. He read for 2 hours, not the bodybuilding forums or the streak counters or the men posting day numbers like trophies, the actual science, the ancient philosophy. Swami Sivananda writing about ojas, the vital force that a man produces and either guards or wastes. Nikola Tesla describing his celibacy as directly connected to his capacity for invention. Marcus Aurelius writing about the discipline of desire as the foundation of every other discipline. And Kofi felt something he had not felt in 2 years: recognition. Like a part of him that had been trying to speak for a very long time had finally found the right language. He closed the laptop, not the way he usually closed it, with intention. And he sat in the silence, and he made a decision. The first 3 days were nothing. Kofi had expected a battle, and the battle had not arrived yet. He felt almost superior. This is easier than I thought. Day 4 arrived like a wall. His brain began sending signals he had not anticipated, not just craving, irritability, restlessness, a specific kind of mental itch that had no location and no solution. He sat at his desk at work and could not concentrate. He came home and paced his flat. He picked up his phone 17 times in one evening and put it back down 16 times. This was the dopamine baseline collapsing. His brain, accustomed to a nightly flood of artificial reward, was now receiving nothing. And it was not happy. It sent every signal it knew how to send: boredom, agitation, the creeping conviction that everything was gray and pointless and that one night would not make a difference. Epictetus said that the first and greatest victory is to conquer yourself. Kofi discovered in those first 2 weeks exactly why Epictetus called it a victory. Because it was a war, fought entirely inside his own skull against an enemy that knew every weakness he had because it had spent 2 years studying them. But Kofi held. Not perfectly, not without moments where he came within seconds of giving in. But he held. And somewhere around day 10, something shifted. Drop in the comments, what day did it get hardest for you? Day 3? Day 7? Day 14? Tell me where your wall is. That is where the real work begins. Day 14. Kofi woke up differently. He could not explain it immediately. He lay in bed for a moment, trying to identify what was different. Then he understood. He was hungry. Not for food, for his work. The specific hunger that had been absent for 2 years was back. Faint, but real. He opened his laptop, not to consume, to create. He worked for 3 hours without checking his phone once. This was not discipline. This was chemistry. His dopamine baseline had begun to fall back toward its natural level. And as the artificial ceiling came down, the real world began to feel stimulating again. The satisfaction of finishing a design felt like something again. A conversation with a colleague felt like something again. The idea of building his studio felt not just possible, but urgent. This is what the ancient practitioners of brahmacharya had always known, what Swami Sivananda documented across decades of observation, what modern neuroscience has since confirmed. The brain of a retained man is not a suppressed brain, it is a recalibrated one whose reward system has been reset to respond to real things, real effort, real creation, real conquest. Kofi was not more motivated because he had added something to his life. He was more motivated because he had stopped stealing from himself. 30 days later, Kofi opened the notebook, the one with the logo sketches. He looked at them for a long time. Then he opened his laptop, not to consume, to build. He registered the business name that night, not because 30 days of retention had magically given him a business, because 30 days of retention had given him back the one thing a man needs before he can build anything: access to himself. The drive that had been buried under 2 years of nightly dopamine floods was not gone. It had never been gone. It had been borrowed against, spent before it could be used for anything real. And when Kofi stopped borrowing against it, the interest stopped compounding. And what remained was his, every drop of it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Kofi had spent 2 years arguing with himself about what he was capable of. The retention did not make him capable. The retention made him stop arguing. Most men will watch this video and feel something shift, and then open another tab and make the same trade they made last night, and wonder tomorrow morning why the stone is still on their chest. Kofi's story is not special. His brain was not different from yours. His struggle was not harder than yours. The only difference between Kofi at day 0 and Kofi at day 30 was one decision made in the silence of a Thursday evening: to stop trading the real thing for the cheap version, to stop spending his most valuable currency on a counterfeit, to stop leaking. Your dopamine baseline is not your destiny. It is just your current setting, and it can be changed, starting tonight, starting with one decision, starting with the phone going face down and the silence being allowed to speak. Subscribe to Lone Warriors. This is where men come to stop the leak. The war starts within.